Kang Jin-young was seen as nothing more than an ordinary loser at the high school for awakened individuals. His only special ability was regeneration. Supposedly a superior S-rank ability, it was just a source of excruciating pain for him. He became a target of mockery and physical violence for the bullies at school, who derived sadistic pleasure from his painful healing process. His regeneration left no evidence of their bullying, making it impossible for teachers and the police to intervene. The fact that these bullies were S-rank awakens and enjoyed special government privileges didn't help either. Jin-young tolerated all the torment for the sake of his mother. After his father's death when he was just 5, he hid his sufferings behind a smile whenever his mother inquired about his school life. He made a promise to become a hunter after graduation and, despite the challenges he faced, was determined to fulfill his pledge. With his ability, he knew he could at least make it as a C-rank hunter. The income wouldn't be grand, but it would be enough to give them a better living condition. He always assured his mother that happiness was within their reach. However, things took a tragic turn on his mother's birthday. The bullies left her in a vegetative state, claiming it was an accident at her restaurant where she served them food. They leered at her and one of them even asked what she thought about him, boasting about his awakened ability to create diamonds. When she accidentally broke his phone, he lashed out in anger, resulting in her horrific condition. This incident, claimed as an accident, was anything but a coincidence or an unintended use of their abilities. Fury overwhelmed Jin-young, causing him to tear at his own flesh in grief. Elsewhere, one of the bullies wondered about their actions, but his friend assured him that they were untouchable due to their youth and awakened status. This bully brushed off any concern, implying it wasn't his first act of violence. Suddenly, a figure approached them. It was Jin-young, seething with rage. He demanded an explanation for their atrocious act, but was answered with a smirk and a taunting remark about his mother. In response, Jin-young attacked them, only to be impaled by a diamond that one of the bullies manifested. The crystal pierced his chest, causing him to fall to his knees while the bully casually commented about his mother. With trembling hands, Jin-young pulled out the diamond, his wound regenerating painfully. Despite the agony, he managed to lash out at them verbally, inciting the man to unleash more sharp crystals at him. As he staggered towards his attackers, his body impaled with diamonds and blood soaking his clothes, he was electrocuted by another bully, whom they referred to as Thor. Even after being incapacitated, Jin-young clung to one of the bully's leg, demanding to know where he thought he was going. Enraged, the bully pummeled Jin-young with his crystal-infused fist, blaming him for his mother's plight and questioning his right to be angry. Despite the gruesome beating, Jin-young continued to glare defiantly at his assailant, which only served to infuriate him more. Then, one of the bullies, referred to as Sandman, was ordered to start digging, an ominous order he followed without question. Jin-young cast a weak curse at them, only to be met with a dismissive gesture. Thor questioned the man's intent but was curtly told to be quiet. The man then wielded his power, emitting crystals that began to surround and encase Jin-young. As Jin-young issued threats and vows of revenge, the man merely smirked and challenged him to break free if he could. In time, the crystals completely entombed Jin-young, then they were buried underground. Jin-young strained to lift the crystal encasing him, but quickly realized the futility of his efforts. His rage flared into a tirade of curses as he pushed against the unbreakable diamond crystals. As his air supply dwindled, he gasped for breath, aching all over, and consciousness started slipping in and out. His regenerative ability was his only lifeline, but each moment was filled with unendurable pain. In a desperate bid to end his torment, he impaled himself with a sharp diamond. But his regenerative ability denied him even this mercy. The agony made him reminisce about his mother's smile and he reflected on her last moments, feeling utterly powerless. He punched the diamond, resolute on breaking free, no matter the time it took. 5 years later, news reports were buzzing with a live broadcast from a meeting with renowned S-rank hunters. These men were lauded for their generous acts of volunteer work. When asked about an incident from 5 years ago where they allegedly hurt a civilian due to uncontrolled abilities, they expressed remorse, one even admitting his apology to the victim's son, who was unreachable since then. Suddenly, a massive figure burst onto the scene, terrifying the spectators. The figure attacked one of the men. It was Jin Young, who had never given up on his escape. In the past, he continually tested the unyielding crystals, his unique regenerative ability making him stronger with each injury. After enduring the excruciating process of repeatedly destroying his body to regenerate stronger, he managed to break free and sought revenge on his tormentors. As the scene unfolded, one of the hunters, Thor, was struck by the intimidating sight of Jin Young. The latter reminded his tormentors of their dare, stating his success in breaking free. As the scene escalated, one man fell, his head severed by Jin Young's fury. Another was ripped apart in a similar fashion. Finally, the diamond-handed man tried to retaliate by punching Jin Young, only to have his hand break on impact. He then conjured up an array of sharp diamonds, flinging them towards Jin Young, leaving him riddled with wounds. To the man's astonishment, even after being pierced multiple times, Jin Young kept moving. Jin Young rose to his feet gradually, the sight of this sending shockwaves of horror through the man before him. He witnessed with dread as a diamond had embedded itself into Jin Young's head, but surprisingly, Jin Young still managed to hold his ground as though it were a mere inconvenience. In a panic, the man morphed his body into a diamond structure for protection and took a swing at Jin Young, landing punches on his chin, shoulder, and body, each one leaving Jin Young bloodied. Still, the man persisted in his attack, boiling with rage. Jin Young, however, managed to trap the man's crystalline fist in his mouth and shattered it, to the man's disbelief. Utilizing his own bone as a weapon, Jin Young inflicted a deep wound on the man, who crumbled to the ground, writhing in agony. The man shrieked in pain as Jin Young further drove his bone into his body. Despite his precarious state, the man activated his power to produce a large diamond that skewered Jin Young's body. In the ensuing struggle, Jin Young didn't release his grip, which resulted in the man's arm being ripped away. The man seized the chance to make a desperate escape. But Jin Young retaliated by hurling a sharp diamond at him, causing significant damage. Jin Young then collected more of these lethal diamonds as he slowly closed in on the injured man, who pleaded for mercy to no avail. Jin Young used each diamond to impale the man, leaving him bleeding out heavily. In spite of being riddled with sharp diamonds, the man found the strength to question Jin Young's identity and motives. In response, Jin Young tore off half the man's face, a brutal reminder of the time he was insulted and belittled by him. Jin Young then unleashed a series of punches on the man before driving his bony fist into the man's mouth, a final act that resulted in the man's death. After the grisly ordeal, Jin Young stood still for a moment, taking in the sight of his defeated enemies and the body of the man who had hurt his mother. His reflection mirrored in the pool of blood on the ground while rain from a broken ceiling mixed with it. He recalled visiting his mother in the hospital, her eyes open but her body unresponsive, a sight that brought tears to his eyes. Meanwhile, a portal opened in a place littered with dead monsters. A man congratulated a woman on her successful mission and acknowledged their collective efforts. Another man asked the woman about her first experience deep within the gate, expressing their gratitude for her. The conversation took a darker turn when the dangers of the gate were discussed, instilling fear into the woman. Yet, a man reached out to her, offering comfort by stating that it takes a month to escape from there, even hinting at his excitement about spending that time with her. Before anything more could happen, an unexpected figure arrived, beheading the forward man and causing panic amongst the others. When the woman turned around, she was shocked to see Jin Young, now a skeletal figure. A man tried to attack Jin Young, but his efforts proved futile. Another man attempted to strike back, but his weapon shattered upon hitting Jin Young's skeleton, resulting in utter disbelief. Jin Young swiftly beheaded this man too, leaving the others stunned. He went on to eliminate them with ease and then approached the terrified woman. She expected the worst and closed her eyes, but he only gave her a hard stare. The unexpected behavior surprised her and she managed to express her gratitude before Jin Young abruptly ended her life as well. The memory of this incident caused Jin Young to break into tears. Suddenly, a voice chimed in, praising his actions and asking about his feelings. Jin Young countered by questioning her identity. She introduced herself as Simeon, the head of the Korean Hunter Association. She claimed to have been observing Jin Young since an incident 5 years ago, which left him taken aback. He lashed out at her, but she stated she could save his mother, causing him to miss his attack deliberately. This caused debris to scatter in her direction. He demanded her to repeat her claim, to which she assured him of her ability to wake his mother as she was the only S-rank healer in the world. He cast doubts on her integrity, to which she responded with humor, questioning the effectiveness of the hospital's attempts to sustain his mother's life while he was in the underworld. After a brief silence, he inquired about her intentions. She confessed that the hunters were overwhelmingly potent, explaining that most military forces could not rival them. Some hunters, she added, were even more formidable than nuclear forces, eradicating the majority of the monsters inside the gates. The gates persisted, their monster-free paths exploited by nations for warfare, employing hunters for this purpose. Despite their shortage of hunters, they had been unable to stop Japanese hunters from infiltrating their lands until he made his appearance. She explained that retaliating with their own hunters would inevitably escalate into full-blown conflict, whereas a monster wouldn't incite such complications. Reflecting on his memories, he rested the head of a Japanese girl on her lap and glanced at a picture of his mother, reminded of Ian's proposition. Ian had promised to save his mother if he agreed to be their monster. Meanwhile, in Japan, at the official residence of the Prime Minister, a man discussed with the defense minister. The minister inquired if there were any powerful monsters or hunters in Korea, both times receiving a negative answer. This infuriated the minister, demanding to know why their hunters hadn't yet subdued Korea. The man apologized and assured the Prime Minister, Ruzaki Judo, that he would rectify the issue. Ikase Kajuru, Japan's top hunter, confidently declared that he would personally resolve the situation, and as he began to walk, he instructed his assistant to prepare his sword. His assistant questioned if he intended to undertake the task alone. He replied in the affirmative, ignoring concerns that his solo action might be seen as disrespectful given the caliber of the hunters previously dispatched. Entering the gate, Kajuro questioned the unsuccessful man about what transpired, refusing to believe they had all perished due to a minor incident. Soon, he spotted Jin Yang perched atop a heap of deceased hunters. Enraged by the sight, he launched an immediate attack, but Jin Yang blocked his sword with his arm, astonishing Kajuro. Jin Yang fought back, causing Kajuru to retreat and marvel at his hard exoskeleton. Yet, despite the surprises, Kajuru managed to decapitate Jin Yang, who collapsed armless and headless onto the ground. Kajuru wondered how such a creature could have bested their hunters, expressing regret over the situation. As Jin Yang lay decapitated, he recalled his father's sacrifice, the loss of the family business, and his mother's struggles. He made a vow to become a hunter and bring happiness back to his mother's life. Recalling Yun's plea for him to become their weapon against Japan's strongest hunters, he began to regenerate his body. Caught off guard by the bite on his leg, Kajuru attempted to retaliate. However, Jin Yang, now fully skeletal, attacked again. Kajuru activated his moon power, causing an explosion that sent Jin Yang's body parts flying out of the portal. Despite the successful attack, a sharp bone thrown into Kajuru's leg left him stunned. Jin Yang, ever resilient, continued to approach, prompting Kajuru to prepare for another attack. If you enjoyed this video, please let us know by leaving a review in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click the bell for notifications. Give us a thumbs up if you liked what you watched. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next time.